Hello students, welcome to lesson 4 lecture notes. We are talking about how to write research proposals. Usually starts with an introduction, then a literature review, a method, followed by what you expect the outcomes to be, and if you expect there will be any problems or any limitations of your study, and then finally come to the conclusion of the proposal. Okay? Now, these steps are not fixed. Okay? You can always go back and forward between the steps so that the writing and preparing the research proposal can be a cyclic process. Introduction usually includes the topic, why you're doing the research, and how you are going to do that. With the topic, a lot of people also call it the research question. So what is the difference between a topic and research question? They are actually quite similar, but a topic is usually more general. For example, my topic is about food or about calories in food. But by converting that into a question form, it becomes, I would like to research about calories in different foods. Okay, by converting that into a research question in a question form, it makes it easier for the researcher to prepare the proposal. The why is the purpose. A lot of people would have a reason for doing the research. For some people, it's a personal reason, okay, personal interest. For other people, it can be an academic reason. They are given a task in their class, okay, or maybe some academic reasons. With how, okay, the research will be conducted, you will be talking in more details in the method section that comes up next. So in the introduction, you will simply include one or maybe two sentences very briefly of the type of method that you'll be using. For example, okay, the research will be using a questionnaire. This research will be using an experiment, okay, things like that. Literature review is probably one of the most important components, but this is a component that always left out by students. Basically, literature review means to read about this topic or related topics. Okay, what has been researched. Okay, even if your topic is very unique, okay, authentic and creative, someone might have conducted something similar. So to read what is already in the literature is quite important, because by having a good review of the literature, you would have a strong research proposal. Okay, and for literature review, you could read books, or a lot of times students go on internet. There's a lot of information on the internet, or articles, journals, etc., etc. Gap. Okay, what has been researched and what hasn't been researched. Okay, so this is then the gap, okay, that is missing in the previous literature, and therefore for you to have the interest in conducting your research. Some people would also include a review of the method used in previous studies. Okay, in your case, review of previous methods is probably not applicable unless you want to focus more on the writing of the method. Okay. whether or not you have a framework. Some students or some researchers have a theory, okay, a theoretical framework that they base their research on. Once again, only include a framework if you have one. If you don't have one, leave it out. Okay, so that's move on to the next section. Method. As you can see, there are a lot of elements included in this section. Okay, this is where you would design your research. You will include specific procedures of how you are going to carry out your research, a time frame, how much time you have. Okay, for your particular research proposal, you do have a deadline. Description of the research environment and your access. If you're going to conduct the research at home, then the research environment will be your home. What kind of data are you collecting? If you're doing a questionnaire research, okay, if you're doing an empirical experiment, okay, if you are simply doing a literature-based research. A description of the instruments or experiments that you are going to use. If you are going to do a questionnaire or if you're going to do a research involving subjects, people, then you would also describe the subject of your research. Who are they? What age group? Their characteristics. Collection procedures. For example, day 1, collect this, day 2, collect this, day 3, collect this, and week 2, collect that. Analysis procedures, how you are going to analyze the data that you collected. Okay. Research ethics, usually this applies if you use human subjects. For example, if you are going to do a questionnaire, you would say that in your proposal that you are going to use human subjects, but you will take special caution and be cautious not to reveal their real names, or if you're doing an experiment on human subjects, you would also indicate that the experiments you do are safe and will not harm your subject. Researchers' considerations, okay, your expected outcome, okay. For researchers, before they start any research, they should have a rough idea or prediction of how their research will turn out. Okay, so in your case, you will indicate what you think your research would achieve and what might be some possible conclusions and arguments that you can make. Hypothesis, if you have any, if you have a hypothesis, then you need to give a reason. Okay. Potential problems and weaknesses and limitations of your research. Because a lot of students' research are limited to time and resources, so there will also be a lot of weaknesses. Okay, no research is perfect, but then we want to indicate what we see as the weaknesses of our own research. Conclusion. Very lastly, you will then state the importance of your study. Okay, this study is important because it found that the contributions it could make. Okay, you can say that it contribute to the knowledge of the field. It can contribute to other university students. Okay, and your final remarks. And also in the conclusion, you could also include a small summary of the proposal. This will reflect what you have written in your introduction of what is the topic, why you have chosen a topic, and how you are going to conduct your study. And finally, references. By adding references, we add strength to our writing. So references section is very important. Now, paragraph checklist. When you write your research proposal, you will have to organize your writing in paragraphs. I do not want students to write a list of ideas. Okay, no list, please. Paragraphs. So we know that with paragraph writing, what we have studied in previous weeks is that each paragraph needs to clearly state the main idea. Okay, each paragraph needs to be long enough to develop the main idea. Okay, all the sentences in a paragraph need to be relevant, and all the sentences need to add new information. Okay, I do not want students to include things like in other words. Okay, the minute you write in other words, you are probably repeating what you said earlier in the paragraph. Okay, I want your writing to be precise, to use correct format, and if possible, I want students to use the objective focus. So avoid things like we, us, your, you. Okay, of course this is your research proposal, so you could say my research, I am going to do something, our research. Okay, but once again, there are ways of avoiding the usage of first person pronouns, okay, in the writing. Okay, we'll talk a little bit more about writing without using first person pronouns in the upcoming lecture notes. Okay, avoid contractions. This is really easy to achieve. Please do not forget. And also, finally, check your spelling and grammar. Okay. Now, the lecture notes today briefly talked about how to write research proposals, but there are lots of different ways to write research proposals, and so this is simply one of the formats. Also, your proposal doesn't need to include all the elements. Okay, only put the elements if they apply to your work. Okay, so not all the elements would apply to your research. Okay, so please keep that in mind. Okay, students, thanks for your attention.